everyone. This is Fadi, and I want to welcome you to a new video series based on our Let Us Reason segment that we typically do. And this time we are going to talk about a topic that is really interesting. We're going to call it idolatry between Islam and Christianity. But the focus of this particular video series is to show you that while Islam, as I grew up learning, that it is a religion that came to fight idolatry, that the main intent behind why Islam emerged, when it emerged, is that people at the days of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, especially in Mecca and in the Arabian Peninsula, were worshippers of idol, and even the existing religious people like the Christians and the Jews associated others with God, like the Jews, for instance, the claim in chapter 9 of the Quran that they associated someone by the name of Ezra with God, and the Christians associated Jesus with God. The point is that Islam came to fight idolatry and to emphasize the oneness of God. However, throughout this video series, and we don't know yet how many episodes it will take, but I suspect it might take around probably 8 to 10, maybe even more, we are going to zoom in and highlight a number of rituals and also traditions associated with Islam that clearly show an action of idolatry. Now, if we are going to talk about idolatry from an Islamic point of view, one might ask, what does Islam teach when it comes to that topic? Islam, as I stated earlier, emphasizes the oneness of God. In fact, chapter 112 of the Quran clearly, at least in the mind of Muslims and Islamic scholars and Quranic interpreters, it emphasizes God as one. It's almost like the equivalent of the first commandments, do not take any other gods beside me. That's the idea behind chapter 112, although one can argue that the Arabic word that was used doesn't necessarily mean an absolute oneness, but that would be for another episode or another video series. The other thing is, where do Muslims will turn to learn about actions that are considered to be idolatrous? In other words, how can they know that this is an act that they have to basically stop, or an act that they ought to withdraw from practicing, or an act that indicate an action of idolatry? The Quran is the book, the scripture, the text that Muslims are commanded to go to get guidance from Allah, since the Quran is His message that He sent to mankind through His messenger and prophet and final messenger, Muhammad, to all mankind. And if you do a quick survey in the Quran, you'll come across a lot of warnings concerning shirk. That's the Arabic word for associating something or someone with God, or idolatry as we translate it. One of the chapters in the Quran, chapter 109, clearly states a distinction between the worship of Muhammad and his followers and the worship of the idolaters. And the reason for the revelation of chapter 109 had to do with the fact that the tribe of Muhammad, known as the tribe of Quraysh in Mecca, allegedly, according to the standard Islamic narrative, allegedly told Muhammad that they are really upset by the fact that his God does not like or despises their idols that they worship, and that they want to make a deal with him that if he were to worship their gods 1 year, they'll be willing in turn to worship his God another year, and that will be in a rotating fashion. That's at least the alleged reason why chapter 109 was revealed, where in that chapter Muhammad makes the argument that, hey, you idolaters, I do not worship what you worship, and you will not worship what I worship. And then it gets repeated again, and at the end of the day, he will close that chapter by stating, you have your religion and I have mine. That's the main argument behind that particular chapter. Now, there is another commentator of the Quran his name is Ibn Abbas, who happened to be the father of Islamic commentaries and even the cousin of Muhammad, stated that there is another verse that was revealed. Now, we don't know if he meant another verse that was revealed in chapter 109 that we do not have today, which, by the way, that's common. Islamic tradition tell us that there are verses that have been lost. And the verse, according to him, says, if you should associate, this is Muhammad or Allah speaking through Muhammad to the idolaters, saying, if you should associate anything with Allah, your work would surely become worthless. In other words, your worship will not earn you any good deeds, and you're wasting your time, and you would surely be among the losers. Losers win on Judgment Day, and you will be thrown in the hellfire. Rather, the verse says, rather, worship only Allah and be among the grateful. Now, if we do a quick search in the Quran, we do come across this particular verse mentioned in chapter 39, verse 65. Chapter 39 of the Quran, verse 65, where it says, and it was already revealed to you, again, Allah speaking through Muhammad to the idolaters, saying, and it was already revealed to you and to those before you, that if you should associate anything with Allah, your work would surely become worthless, and you would surely be among the losers. Now, this is episode 1, of course, of this particular series that we called Idolatry Between Islam and Christianity. And what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you some background behind the concept of idolatry, at least from a Quranic standpoint, from an Islamic point of view. And I'm going to also revisit this topic in episode number 2, because it is extremely important for us to recognize the stance that the Quran takes, or let's say the God of Islam takes, through the mouth of his prophet and the message that was revealed to mankind, which is the Quran. After that, we are going to take a deeper dive into some of the Islamic practices that will clearly become evident to anyone that it is short of being basically a pure action not associated with idolatry. Rather, it is the opposite. Some of these practices, if not all of them, do have a sense of idolatry, sometimes implicit or sometimes explicit, sometimes clear or sometimes embedded in there. But we will take a deeper look at all of that, one episode at the time, and sometimes multiple episodes at the time, because we want to make sure that we cover this topic in a thorough manner. Until we meet again in the next episode and continue with our discussion concerning idolatry, and this time, idolatry in Islam, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.